Despite the fact that I made the definitive objective ranking of all of Silksong's bosses, my pesky community has decided to go and make their own by voting in a survey to rate each boss on a scale of 1 to 10. To let you guys express your thoughts, I'll highlight comments I've received under my videos, as well as the community post for the survey. And just to make it more apparent when I'm reading a comment, I'll add this little distortion effect. Hope it's not too distracting. Now let's see if you people can do a better job, beginning with, of course, the lowest rated boss. Aw, poor Zango. Have you always been alone? I can't say I was expecting rave reviews here, but I wasn't betting on this poor loser getting the absolute bottom spot. I was sure Savage Beastfly would get it, but here's an argument for why that's not the case. Plasmified Zango is easily the worst for me. A boss that is not fun at all to fight, and you get no reward whatsoever for putting up with the tedium. Yeah, I agree, Savage Beastfly can be infuriating, but at least there is a hint of a fun pattern, and it feels like a legit boss with a good dose of challenge. Zango is like poking a vulnerable bug with a stick until it is no more, and you don't feel any accomplishment after beating it like Beastfly or Groal. I just don't even feel like he's a boss, just a gimmick. The one shred of positivity I can glean from the comments is the amount of variety in how people tackled his healing gimmick. From using different crests, to craftable tools, to poison, and the lifeblood vial you get for the Plasmium collecting quest. But on an individual level, it doesn't seem a single person actually enjoyed whatever tactic they employed. Well, okay, 5 people gave the boss 10 out of 10, but I don't know if I buy those being genuine votes. Somehow, we still aren't at Savage Beastfly. I guess that's because I had no idea how reviled Palestag was until I posted my Silksong video, where the unfortunate Bugsteed got sent to the slaughterhouse for being apparently ranked too high. Mind you, I put it in low mediocre tier. I don't exactly like the fight. I just didn't think people would have the racehorse be a frontrunner for the worst in the whole game. My main complaint was that long, tedious run back, which yes, I did have to do, because yes, I did die. I'm sorry that I suck! But even without counting the run back, which most didn't have to, it's considered a lame fight. Cool presentation, but I find the attack to be annoying. Yes, the attack, because it has only one, as you said. And I love how it's easy and you have to chase it around for like 2 minutes, because easy fights that make me chase bosses and are super simple are my favorite. Personally, I thought the arena design at the very least complemented its one attack pretty well, but I'm not gonna die on a hill defending it. But this guy might. It's thanks to this video I even found out about the deer boss and other fight. So thanks, Magic Cat. Beat them both first try, but they were fun. Okay, pause. You're gonna mention Palestag and Clover Dancers, and you're gonna dismiss Clover Dancers as other fights. Really? And there's our beloved Savage Beastfly, Farfield's edition, edging out Palestag by a whopping 0.01 points. Possibly because 7 demons from the 7 layers of hell gave it the perfect score. I'm sorry, are you guys okay? I tried to track down these psychos in the comments before they hurt anyone, but the closest to Beastfly glazing I could find was this. I don't agree with Beastfly being awful tier. Yeah, it's worse than the other fights, but it's not an awful fight. Well, that is some high appraisal there. I feel like I'm the only one who liked Savage Beastfly. Yes, it's hard, but still fun to fight. I don't know which one of the Beastflies he's talking about, but either way, he's wrong. Okay, this one is definitely about the Farfields one based on the timestamp. Every time I see someone complain about this version of Beastfly, they're not using their claw line, not using their silk spells, and not using their tools. Tools I can kind of understand because they're a limited resource that you might want to save, but not using your claw line at this point of the game is naturally going to make fights like this far more dreadful. I think I'm with Looney Lemon Jeff on this one. Even with spells and more movement abilities, it's at best a dull as fuck boss with 2 boring attacks. If anything, it's more interesting to let the extra enemies linger a little longer. Too bad they tend to be just bullshit in tandem with the boss. Other than that, I couldn't find many comments roasting this fight, but the majority of 1 out of 10s in the vote tells me they're just quietly condemning it. Broodmother Hot is another boss I didn't really mind that much myself, while most others clearly despise, but I couldn't find anyone articulating what's so bad about her in my community, so I had to turn to the worst place on the internet. Reddit! This is such a garbage boss. Ads are a lazy design, and it's a shame this game is filled with gimmicks like this. I'd be fine if they put multiple bosses, but this is just nonsense. I love the solo bosses, even the paired ones too, but this bullet hell garbage is frustrating and a waste of time, honestly. Okay, if you think this is a bullet hell, don't play actual bullet hells. I just struggle with all fights that are designed around spam ads and flop a giant hitbox around. Not to mention when she gets up after a flop, her hitbox suddenly becomes much more vertical. That is what usually happens when someone gets up after laying down. What did you expect? Do you become more horizontal when you get up? You fat fuck! Everything in this game is fucking cancer and the designers have zero sense of pacing. A good game has an easy platforming section, a modest boss, a tough platforming section, some nasty regular enemies, an easy passage, and then a build up to a brutal boss fight. Every single screen of Silksong is brutal, cruel, and insufferably hard. You literally never get a break. The only break is to turn the fucking game off and do something else. Preach, my brother. It's the only game I've ever played where I have to take half-hour breaks every 15 minutes to recharge. No fucking pacing at all. Maybe there's no pacing because you keep pausing the game. Because you suck. Interesting, I beat her first try without too much trouble and just thought it was cool that Team Cherry made a slightly harder Broodmother. I think you just have to take your time and be patient and, yeah, avoid the spit attack. I can understand the frustration with all the double damage attacks, but yeah, honestly, she's not too bad. That's a fair enough comment, but of course, it gets downvoted. And then you have this response.
If you compare this boss to Broodmother, you don't have an eye for game design. A Broodmother comparison is the boss you face in the first area.
I hate Reddit, fuck everyone on this site. I like it more her. Finally, this guy gets it. Savage Beastfly jump scare! It's back! This time, it's in Hunter's March, and generally encountered much earlier, which for some is the source of the issue, as mentioned by Mr. Patrick. The original one in Hunter's March is far worse in my opinion because you don't have any moveset options to deal with them yet. But unlike the 1 out of 10 scoreboard tower for the Farfield's monstrosity, this one has a much wider spread from 1 to 6 out of 10. So not many outright like it, but after the trauma inflicted by its demonic brother, it doesn't seem quite so bad in comparison. So we're at the 4 out of 10 range now, which roughly translates to mediocre tier in my ranking system. That's about where I put Voltvyrm, so we're finally aligned on something. This time, not only is no one talking about the boss in my comments, but not even on Reddit. I can hardly find anything. Nobody cares about this fight. I believe it's not that it's a bad boss, but that calling it one is being generous. So instead of scouring the internet for any comments, I'll just let you enjoy this shitty edit I did.
Kaya, please.
If you run right now, I'll fucking kill you.
You're being such a baby.
Please.
Just stop.
While I agree with everyone that Skull Tyrant is mediocre, I agree with it so hard that I feel he needs to be put down in bad tier. It's so 4 out of 10 that it's 3 out of 10. I don't know if that makes any sense, it probably doesn't, but that's how I feel. It's just so boring, so uninteresting, and only gets around with that double damage in early game. Didn't find much on YouTube, or Reddit, or Fextralife about him, so I had to turn to Discord for this one. I don't hate him per se, but he's nothing remarkable. E tier because he isn't genuinely bad experience. Bro, you can't say E tier isn't bad. That tier was made specifically so there would be a bigger spectrum of badness. But to give Skull Tyrant some credit, despite its low ranking, very few people thought it was bad enough to get the lowest score. Well done. But man, we've gotten pretty damn far into the ranking to not have yet had Groal the Great. That's more shocking than the Voltvyrm. Oh, there he is. I'll be honest, I did not actually think he would be ranked at the bottom, but only because so many people came out of the closet as Groal and Joyous after I published the boss ranking video, where I put Groal dead last. Before that, I would have assumed he would be bottom 3. After, genuinely no fucking clue, he could have been top 5 for all I knew as I got so many comments praising him. Whoops, already failed with just the first entry. Stay salty because Groal is GOAT! Groal is great, you need baby mode! Joy emoji. Your ego can't accept the fact that Groal is too hard for you, so you have to come up with reasons why it sucks. Haha! Joy emoji. Or maybe I came up with reasons why I don't like it because those are the reasons why I don't like it. Namely, the time-wasting runback plus Gauntlet, and that on his own, I find Groal to be mid at best. I was unable to separate him from that runback experience, and that made a 0 enjoyment type boss a negative 100 enjoyment type boss. And based on the majority still voting for 1 out of 10, I would guess that goes for a lot of people. I did take up on a few people's suggestion to just bathe in the maggots, and I got him second try on my second playthrough. So it wasn't frustrating this time, just went back to being a 0 enjoyment boss. It's not the only easy strat out there, but I don't imagine any of them make it much better. It is worth mentioning though that some people do actually like the runback. Not me, but I'm happy for you if you do. but here's a comment on what I'm supposedly missing out on.
Firstly, he doesn't stick his minions on you, while also adding pressure on you with his own attacks. He actually separates when he attacks and when his minions attack. It's a breath of fresh air that some Silksong bosses could learn from. I'm looking at you, Savage Beastfly rematch. Secondly, the sheer variety in what can happen when he dives into the water makes him a more unpredictable and fun boss fight. Sometimes a couple of his minions will come in for a quick attack, sometimes the spike ball pendulum will come swinging through before he comes back up, and sometimes he'll just pop up somewhere else. It makes the run back kind of worth it, since you'll never know what you'll get next with the fight. Finally, his use of soul attacks puts him in a unique tier of Silksong bosses. He's the only boss that is not a Weaver or a higher being that uses soul attacks in Silksong. Plus, his eyes glowing white when he does that is a nice effect. It's these things and more that make Groal the Great in my top 10 or even top 5 Silksong bosses. I'm not saying that more people should just like Groal the Great, but I believe people should give credit where it is due and try to look on the positives of this boss fight.
Well, all that is true, but I don't know if I really agree with all of them being strictly positives. There isn't really much anticipation of, oh my god, what is he gonna do when he dives in the water, because whether it's the balls or the minions, they come up really slow and highly telegraphed. If anything, the diving is kinda poor for the flow of the fight. The minions being sicked on you without the boss getting involved is different, but I also did the gauntlet many times before, so just a single attack from them without me needing to kill them is nothing. He does have soul attacks, and I suppose that does put him in a unique tier of bosses who have soul attacks. But they are just straight projectiles that don't really combo with anything and have no special interaction with you, so I don't see what the big fuss about them is. What isn't mentioned here is the unique design of the arena and how the platforms impact the fight, and how careful your footwork needs to be as a result, which is probably the biggest selling point I could see for someone. But again, it's easier to just take a swim. Ultimately, there is no consensus on Groal. A lot hate it, a lot like or don't mind it. So, in my video I had made this comment about the additional enemies in
the Unravelled
fight, but it just feels completely disconnected from the boss. It doesn't feel like one has anything to do with the other. It just filler before and in the middle of the fight. And that's what most comments are about regarding this boss, to let me know that the enemies are actually part of the fight. I guess I didn't explain what I meant clearly enough, because what I meant was just gameplay, not the story, which is a cool proponent to be fair. I will give Groal this. His minions popping in to throw shit at you does feel very much integrated into the fight, but the minions here, as I said, kind of just break up the flow. They just don't complement the boss in any way. Again, besides the story. Other than that, I was pretty indifferent about the boss, as are most, but I did find a couple enjoyers.
Am I the only one that thinks the Unravelled is a top tier fight? The spears are so cool and have a very nice swoosh sound, lol.
Nope, you are not alone.
To be honest, I kinda like the Unravelled. Yeah, it's basic and has probably too much health for what the fight ultimately offers, but I think it fits the area really well, as well as the OST in this fight. I know it's not a unique track, but oh my god, I hate the atmosphere in White Station. In a good way.
Well, to give the guy some credit, he did get the name right in his second post. Good call on the health though, it can drag on for a fucking while if you don't leave this boss for much later. Slave Knight Gale on a stick reigns supreme as the one and only strictly platforming boss, and people both love it and hate it for it.
My personal least favorite fight is Father of the Flame, since it's an annoying platform segment with a boss name. Father of the Flame is a fairly simple and basic fight, only having one attack in phase 1 and 2 attacks in phase 2, but it's cool to have a boss that, for the most part, revolves around pogos. The only boss I hate more than Groal is the Father of the Flame, managed to be both boring and infuriating at the same time. Honestly, I kinda loved Father of the Flame fight. I like pogoing things constantly, and the addition of weaving through flames to do so was really fun.
I'm kinda leaning towards liking it for the same reasons. I think it's a really neat design, and had they gone a little further with it, instead of a super quick little optional mini-boss, it could have been something special. Give it more phases or attacks, have something the player can heal from, and we're cooking instead of cooked.
Gurr the Outcast is an awesome secret boss, not talked about enough I think. I don't know what other opinions are of it.
Well, let's find out together.
Am I the only one who likes Gurr the Outcast? I love this boss.
Whenever you have to ask that, the answer is no! You're not alone!
Gurr is cool design-wise, but incredibly easy for that point in the game. Has to be reworked. That entrance was amazing, was not expecting that. Hope this guy gets the Nosk treatment and gets more attacks.
I know, Facts for Life, not my comment, but it shares the same sentiment of wanting reworks. but others are still willing to outcast him for the rest of eternity.
Gurr the Outcast, on the other hand, is by far the worst boss and is complete dog shit. All he does is send out annoying traps everywhere for the whole fight that don't even target you, and he sometimes does a charge with barely any telegraph, and that sometimes cannot be dodged because of how long the traps take to go away, even if you hit them.
I do wonder if more people would hate the fight if he wasn't so weak. So be careful what you wish for, you might not want that Nosk treatment. Don't give this douchebag wings. I'm quite surprised Mouse Mommy Duo would get this level of indifference. I mean, I didn't put it super high either, but I definitely like it more than the single mom, who even for first boss standards is super bare bones. There isn't any more effort in the design here, but at least there's always more shit going on. Maybe some just found it to be a disappointing conclusion to a secret area.
Moss lovers belong in C tier, not D actually. Like they're piss easy, but not tedious or anything.
What do you mean, piss easy? Every single screen in this game is brutal, cruel, and insufferably hard. No pacing at all! Speaking of brutal, cruel, and insufferably hard, and Moss Mothers, here she is, the very first one. I wish I could say you never forget your first, but I think most of us have by now.
Moss Mother is decent, but I think False Knight did a better job in Hollow Knight. Although Hollow Knight has potentially two typicals first boss.
Oh my god, I almost had a stroke there. What the fuck is a typical?
With its moveset being more varied overall, it even has falling debris falling that you can deflect.
I feel the better comparison would be... Oh no, I'm not being snarky enough. If you compare this boss to False Knight, you don't have an eye for game design. A Moss Mother comparison is the Grew's mother. I do agree with the 5 out of 10 score though, that is dead on. Chef Lugoli shares the exact score as Moss Mummy, so the final decision came to me, since I didn't vote in the survey. And I say, while nothing crazy, she's still infinitely more interesting. And also the winner of the Nicest Ass in Silksong award.
Disgraced Badass Lugoli is the textbook definition of fine.
Damn right she's fine.
Has a good variety of attacks and it's fun enough, but I won't immediately be fighting him once the Pantheon DLC comes to the game.
Now, I don't want to get too anal about pronouns, but it seems I made the right call by just referring to most bosses as she, so you may want to stew on that before you disrespect my girl. So I went pretty harsh on Pinstress in my video, begrudgingly putting her mediocre, when really my heart was saying bad. I think some get where I'm coming from considering she got more low ratings than even a handful of the previous bosses, but I think this is a more fair and balanced placement. I just found the evasiveness super obnoxious, but for others, that was a perk.
I actually enjoyed Pinstress by being patient. They were funny, like decent here, but yeah, I don't know why they didn't give her the Lace 2 thing when knocked down.
I think he means when Lace falls down and takes damage. Which I don't think Pinstress does, and that's weird.
Honestly, the duels with the friendly NPCs were some of my favorite bosses in the game. Pinstress made me weave both long-range tools and close quarters really well.
Glad you enjoyed those fights, they're definitely memorable.
I actually enjoy Pinstress. The key for enjoying her to me was actually using long-range red tools.
It's always interesting to see different rankings.
I guess the lesson is, use tools, you fools. As a final slight against Pinstress, I placed Watcher at the edge ahead of her, despite again having the same score. Some of the reasoning is reasoned by Cat for the Human.
I think Watcher at the edge is the most underrated boss in the whole game.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Not only is it completely optional, but the atmosphere and lack of music really makes it feel like you aren't supposed to be there. Not to mention, it's in such an obscure location with a weird method to unlock it. Also, the detail of him falling in the worms is cool.
I absolutely agree on the atmosphere and the lack of music. I didn't really think about it at the time, but boy do you feel it. Others have cited liking him for just being a straight one-on-one duel with someone of equal size. But for me, it's always gonna be that insane run he can do. It's fucking terrifying. Garmond, whichever of the two you prefer, is another one of those duels. And for that, I guess he's gonna be fun for some by default. However, most either love or hate him as a boss just for the emotional impact of having to put him down in Act 3. It especially sucks since he's the only one actively seeking out to fight the annoying void shit that's spread across the kingdom.
I can't get over Garmond. The way Zaza made you follow and how sad they looked. Crying emoji. Garmond is a 1 out of 10 because it killed the best character Team Cherry have ever made. So sad.
Excuse me, Sherma and Zod would like a word with you. So yeah, it seems he'll be remembered more for his character and the tragic end than the middling fight.
Bell Eater! While it is a cool design, is my least favorite boss in this game! Bell Eater is honestly a very slept-on fight. I love so many things about it. I like the fight's arena is blocked off by the Bell Eater's body. Not only is it a creative way to block the player in, but also a nicer way of it being able to attack the player if they try to hug the walls. The only attack I thought was kinda whatever is when the head of the Bell Eater waves its arms back and forth. It's made challenging in the first phase when the room is cramped. Burr in the second phase is probably the most easy attack to dodge in the game due to the small radius of it. I also just adore the fight from a story perspective. Not only was it so cool to go inside of the Bell system, but the general shock of seeing it was one of the most memorable moments of the game. I was so sad and pissed because I thought the Bell Beast got corrupted by the Void, but having the Bell Beast come back and get the final hit on it was amazing.
That echoes a lot of what I said in my video, so he's absolutely right. It seems I'm simply fated to always pay the Bell toll whenever I start a new playthrough. It's happened 3 times now. People who think I have an ego. No! I suck! It does give me comfort though that I'm not alone. Maybe for Reddit standards it's too big of a leap in challenge from Mossmother, but I think for most it's just a decent step up. Compared to False Knight though, which is probably the closest comparison in regards to placement in the game, definitely doesn't have that much flair. But it is cute, and I would guess that most people who gave it absurdly high ratings just did it for that. He's a good boy. Or girl, I don't know. It's Era! I'm glad I'm not alone for getting guilty pleasure out of Crawfather's Court of Craw. It seemed like the type of boss everyone would hate, me included. I mean, we have proof from earlier in the video alone that many find ads in boss fights to be lazy. And that's this whole fight.
I was also surprised at how well the Crawfather works as a boss fight. At first, I was incredibly annoyed at yet another gauntlet and a boss fight with ads. But once the fight clicks, it's genuinely one of the better fights. I actually really enjoyed Crawfather, it was a cool design. On paper, the Crawfather really shouldn't work. Think about it, it's a large enemy that deals 2 hearts of damage, is preceded by a gauntlet like Groal, summons minions that are more annoying than the ones the Savage Beastfly summons, and is in a room that isn't all that wide. And yet, somehow the bird boss is weirdly fun, even though it really should be the Act 3 version of Beastfly. I don't know if it's due to tools, a better moveset or what, but it's genuinely fun to fight and I have no idea how it ends up being like that.
Well, here's a couple theories as to why.
It's an ad boss done right. He's slow enough to let you deal with the ads while being a lingering threat. I found the present of Crawfather makes the fight easier. To me, he's a Silk ATM. I attack him for Silk and use spells to wipe the crawlings.
And that wraps up this episode of Craw and Order. And here we've got another rare W of an ad fight, Sister Splinter. Unlike the Crawdad, she's a lot more of a threat on her own, and instead of using her as a Silk dispenser, you use her to play whack-a-mole with the minions. Some of her original threat levels have been diminished though, as she was apparently nerfed, to the detriment of at least this guy.
I'd just like to say that both Moorwing and Sister Splinter were nerfed at the request of the noobs. And now both of the fights are way less enjoyable.
But these noobs, they are brain rotted, right? Exactly like I said last week with the anime men guys.
I'm pretty sure they just nerfed her health like a little bit. It was still a 2-minute fight on replay, so I don't think it's that bad. But for others, the challenge was never the appeal to begin with.
Sister Splinter is genuinely fun, not because she would be particularly engaging, but because it's fun to quote-unquote speedrun her in a sense. Especially with Threatstorm, as you can punish her when she's staggered, clear a lot of the vines from the arena, and kill the minions quite easily. After you've gotten good enough at avoiding her attacks, it becomes less a challenge of if you can beat her, but of how quickly you can beat her.
Well, thanks to them noobs and anime men guys, it's gonna be a lot easier to do that now. Clearly, it's the Sync to Duo fights that people fucked with more than any of the ad-focused fights, considering it's taken this long for any of them to show up. Predictably, it was the double great Conchflies that appeared first, as I think they ended up being a little too easy for being found relatively late.
Conchflies and Enraged Conchfly are very underrated fights. Sure, Conchflies could have been a bot more frantic, but it is a fun duo boss.
In my first Silksong video, I mentioned how their burrowing attacks don't really combo with the ricochet lol conchs, but I did have that happen a few times here, so I will give them credit for that. I still think it would be cool if they remained a little longer for that to be a more likely occurrence. Here's another idea.
A Conchfly trio would go kinda hard, or a duo Enraged.
Make it happen, Team Cherry. I need more cocks. But speaking of duos, it turns out I'm gonna have to split this video in two as it's become a much bigger project than I originally thought. The survey is closed, but you can still participate by commenting about the bosses that weren't covered here. The comments really make these videos possible, so I gotta thank the fuck out of everyone who's taken part so far. I also wanted to shout out my Discord server as it's kinda fallen into inactivity, so now's a good chance to sort of reset when it's super chill. I'm not personally very active there anymore cause I don't think it's good for me to get too close and personal, but I would still like to see it do well. Anyway, part 2 is on its way. See you then.